Hello, welcome to For Pet's Sake. I'm Missy Tuttle. In this episode, we're going to take a good look at some good-hearted people doing some really great things for the Animal Service Center. Then we'll answer some viewers' questions. But first, everyone loves to play. But do you know how important it really is? Let's find out.
So opening the gate means, yep, we're ready. So we have Bradley on deck, Cody.
We are very fortunate to have Amy Sadler, who is the Director of Behavior and Training for Southampton Animal Shelter, with us. She does the Dogs Playing for Life training. She's nationally known, goes all around the country doing this training, and it's basically play groups for dogs. One of the board members for the Animal Shelter Foundation and I were at a training out of town, and we happened to stop in at one of Amy's Dogs Playing for Life trainings down in Gainesville. And once we saw it, we knew that we had to have her come here. The Animal Shelter Foundation is a nonprofit group that's basically our direct support organization, since we're a municipal shelter, and they raise funds to support animal shelter programs.
The Animal Shelter Foundation supported it, and we were lucky to get a grant from Animal Farm Foundation to actually fund the travel expenses and training expenses for Amy Sadler and Cody to come.
Cody's going to be in that yard, not going to be on.
Not yet been to Tallahassee, but this is, I think, our 14th shelter in Florida that we're visiting, and we were brought out here by Lauren Perlman from Animal Shelter Foundation, and they are a wonderful group that supports the shelters here and have brought us out to get playgroups started at their shelter.
We're over at the Red Cross today. They are allowing us to use their conference room, and Amy's doing a video presentation to all the attendees. There are about 70 people here attending the training.
We spent this morning doing a very nitty-gritty how-to presentation with a lot of video of dogs playing and examples of things that we were talking about. Now this afternoon we're going to head over there, and my assistant and I, Cody, we're going to go out in the yard, and they're just going to start bringing us dogs, and we will be demonstrating live everything that we talked about in the presentation and just letting the dogs start to interact and meet and talking about our observations, talking about steps we need to take to help some dogs do better than it looks like they're going to do on their own, and finding those rock stars, those playgroup rock stars that will be the helper dogs that we can then use to smooth out the ones that are having more trouble.
All our staff members are here today, and we also have our, I think about 30 of our volunteers are coming that like to work with the dogs. We have people from Franklin County, from Wakulla County, and we have some local dog trainers that have come over. So it'll just be a good education for everybody and kind of get us all on the same sheet of music with what we're doing, and people will have an understanding of what happens at our shelter, and maybe they can take that to their own.
A private client of mine, way back when in 1998, sent me to the shelter to work with the dogs there. And I just spent more and more time doing that, and ended up doing that full time and developing a training and behavior program that, for me, the foundation was always letting the dogs play together. It just was really a natural, obvious thing that the training sessions would not be an exercise in frustration if I let the dogs go out and play first. And from that, it just grew into that behavior program being very successful and saving lives and being measured, and then teaching shelters around the country how to do a version of what we did, and it all starts with playgroups.
The different behaviors of the dogs, to me, are so important, and how to pair them up, and to know that you might have a fearful dog, or we did see a dog that was crouched, which we get that, in the kennel and didn't want to have anything to do with anybody, but the fact that you can work with them, and they learn, and we learn from the other dog's behavior when you bring a dog like that into an environment. So that's one of the biggest takeaways for me, is how much you can learn about a dog from watching the other dogs, what she calls helper dogs, in the environment.
Harder because you're closer to the dogs barking too.
It's going to be a great tool as well for adopters and for the staff to be able to see how that dog behaves out in a yard with other dogs. Are they energetic? Are they quiet? What is their personality like? So it gets to show them off a little bit better.
one of our biggest challenges in sheltering is that animals are housed in kennels 24/7 and they only get out when people come to walk them.
Most typically, shelters were designed originally as holding facilities for animals to be kept temporarily. They were strays or they were turned in and just waiting to see if somebody would come reclaim them or adopt them, and it was a pretty quick turnaround. But now, as we're trying to save more lives and reduce euthanasia, shelter animals are living with us longer, and so we have to adapt to that, and letting them have access and playgroups for the dogs at least is a huge change to their benefit so that they can cope with staying in the shelter until they get to go in a home. The reason that the playgroups became so important for me was that if these are pack animals by nature, they're meant to be living in groups, so being in groups together is what brings out their best. Being isolated in kennels is going to bring out their worst. It just seemed logical to me that if you let them have access to one another, let them get their yayas out that way, let them bounce around on each other, that that will help them to interact with people and everything in a more healthy and appropriate way. So that's really the foundation of the whole program.
This just does wonders for the animals. It releases their stress, it gets their energy levels down so that they show better in our kennels, and it's really just good for their all-around mental health.
It teaches them appropriate play. That way, when they're adopted, they understand going into a home and an environment, what appropriate behavior is.
We're so happy to have Amy here, and we hope that this is something that we'll be able to utilize to increase our live release rate at the shelter, that we'll have more dogs getting out quicker because they're better behaved during their time here, and people are more willing to take them home. And we'll know a lot more about the dogs too after observing them with other dogs, so we can share that with potential adopters. But this is how they play, this is how they react, and we'll just have a lot better understanding of the animal. I would say the big takeaways today are that we want to make the dogs' time with us as pleasurable as we possibly can. We want to relieve their stress. We want to give them the absolute best chance at adoption. And if we can do that by getting them out, letting them remember what it's like to be a dog, then we're all for that.
What an amazing program. Who doesn't like to play? Playgroups like these are becoming popular with shelters everywhere, but they can't do it alone. If you'd like to help, visit animalshelterfoundation.org and stay tuned for more ways you can help animals.
Okay, men and ladies, remember, though we stopped the introduction of most harmful pests and diseases from entering the U.S., we can always do more.
I know, having assisted with many interceptions myself.
Unsuspecting travelers bring in pests and diseases daily. Our forests, landscape, livestock, and agriculture crops are at risk. Remain vigilant. We don't want anything to get through on our watch. Now look sharp. Linus, it's time to get out there and sniff it out.
All right, he's filling out an agricultural declaration form. Our message of don't pack a pest is getting out there. But we've still got a lot to do. Got it. I found another one. If only more travelers would declare their agricultural items. Our CBP agricultural specialists can help determine if they're safe to bring in. It was a good day. Hope yours is too. Go get 'em. Help protect our food and natural resources. Please, declare agricultural items and don't pack a pest.
Welcome back. Caring for the large number of animals at the Animal Service Center is no easy task. That's why the volunteer program is so important. Let's take a look.
My name is Grayson Walters. I'm the volunteer coordinator here at the Tallahassee Animal Service Center. We're located right here in Tom Brown Park, and my whole job is to oversee the volunteers wanting to come in through the community to help out with our shelter in various ways. Everything's from working with the dogs and the cats to planning special events, helping sometimes with cleaning, all different sorts of things.
Today we're doing a cat-only rabies clinic, and we're offering, in addition to free rabies vaccinations, ID tags and microchips for the cats. It's great to be able to do something to kind of give to the animals, give back to the community, and get involved with a shelter that's a big part of the local community that does a lot of events.
But right now, they're probably outside.
And what I'm doing here today is kind of being a floater, so anywhere they need an extra hand, I might be at the registration table up front, making sure owners have their forms filled out before they go inside. Inside, I'll be making sure people get to the right area so their animal will be checked out, and I'm also going to be bringing name tags and collars out to folks while they're waiting.
Actually, you only need 2 because you can do 3 cats on. It just is very rewarding coming and doing a little something as community service. So it's a good way to get out and show exposure and help kitty cats get adopted.
Thank you so much.
I think where everybody starts off is they love animals, and you hear that, you know, consistently from almost every person that comes in here to want to volunteer. But then it's about building it, learning techniques, learning how to work with them and what they can do to sort of enhance the quality of life for the animal while they're here with us.
Well, I'm a student volunteer here at the Animal Service Center, and I primarily take out the dogs. I'm allergic to cats, but I love hanging out with the dogs. I miss my dog from home, and I can't have the responsibility of a dog right now. So I just decided to look into the shelter because it's a great cause, volunteer hours. But primarily it was to fix my dog need and to kind of fill that gap. As my job as a dog walker, I try to get every dog out for at least 15 minutes, and it allows the dogs to get socialization with me. It also allows them to get all the energy out. Working with the shelter, they really work with your schedule and make sure that you can volunteer once a week at a good time.
How's it going?
We like to do 2 hours at minimum per week, which is great because 2 hours isn't a lot of time when you come and think about it. She likes to stay close to your leg and she'll nudge you when she wants you to look at her. So
That's perfect. That's so good to know because now we can beef up her profile a little bit and hopefully get her a good home. So that's perfect. Thank you so much, Matt.
Yeah, thank you.
All right.
Your knowledge about dogs grows each shift that you come. So I may not have known about leash training, how to properly train a dog not to pull. You can come in with basic knowledge or advanced knowledge. It's all about teamwork and helping each other out. Whether I have a test or an exam coming up, I really enjoy coming to the shelter because it allows me to kind of forget about all the stresses, and I can focus on the dogs, and I can get a clear mind and work a lot harder after I finish my hours here at the shelter. The volunteers know the dogs' personalities really well since we see them on a weekly basis. So we can kind of figure out the right fit for the potential adopters sometimes, or it's just love at first sight, and we can educate them about the quirks that they have and what they need to know about them, or how we can brag about how that's our favorite dog and we're gonna be sad if they adopt it, but happy that it found a forever home. It's really great because it helps out the community, it helps out me. I just feel like I'm helping the community more and I'm helping myself while doing it.
Some of the things that we expect from the volunteers, we do ask them to commit to 8 hours a month, and when they come in, just kind of be willing to help where it's asked. We never know what a typical day is going to be here for us. Sometimes it is just walking the dogs and certainly getting them out and getting them exercise and loving on the cats, enhancing their time so they're not just sitting in a kennel. Certainly there are those basic things like picking up poop sometimes and filling water bowls and passing out blankets, but sometimes we might have a litter of puppies come in that have a ton of fleas on them and we need some help with bathing, or we may not have people, we may have a few staff members out and we may need help with laundry or dishes. So flexibility is also really important, and just sort of being willing to jump in when we ask them to. The minimum age to volunteer is 16, so you certainly get those sophomore, junior, and seniors in high school, and then you also get college students and that sort of thing with FSU and FAMU being in town. And typically they're needing hours for bright futures, maybe for school.
Can you come help us out in the surgery for a minute? Sure.
Maybe they're looking to get into a pre-veterinary type track, or maybe they know they want to do something with animals and they're kind of trying to build their resume and they want to add on that they've done some volunteer work and hands-on experience with animals and kennels. And so we do provide those opportunities and try to tailor what they're going to be involved with to sort of enhance whatever it is that they're trying to work towards. Our volunteers are really engaging the community. Certainly here in the shelter, they're on the floor, they're talking to the customers, they're educating them about the animals, they're asking what their situation is at home to hopefully make the right match. But they go out into the community and they're out at adoption booths at various events all over Tallahassee, and they're really kind of making that connection in the community to remind the public that we are here and we do need these animals to get adopted, and really educating them about what we stand for here. But we have a lot of other opportunities available for them. It can be very group oriented, so you see friendships being made. They come out on Sundays and they all get together as a big group and walk through Tom Brown Park, which is pretty cool. And then we have special events going on all the time that we need help with.
How many dogs?
We've been doing this for a couple of years. When we first got started, we had maybe 3 or 4 people who would show up. Now we have a good regular crew, about 10, 15 people, and we are a pack unto ourselves. We spend a couple of hours getting every single dog out for some fresh air and exercise.
She's a really young dog, so it's good for her to be able to do this. And it's part of what, when we have potential adoptees come in, that we can say, like, she's really good on a leash. And she has learned that even though she wants to go on a run, that she has to wait for me.
We have beautiful Tom Brown Park right next to the shelter, which provides us with a unique opportunity to get the dogs out in the park.
Just love being out here with the dogs, seeing that they need walking, they need some exercise, some socialization, just really getting out, meeting the community as they come in and everything. It helps get them adopted.
Before I started volunteering here, I was kind of afraid of dogs, but now I love dogs. It's rewarding to see like the change in the dogs and how they transform like through socialization and things like that. And it's really nice to see them get adopted. That's always awesome, especially dogs that are here for a long time. It's nice to see them finally find a home.
A lot of people will come to me and they'll say, I can't adopt, but I want to do something for the shelter. I really strongly encourage folks to consider coming out and being part of our pack walk activity. It's every Sunday. We learn leash training. We get to socialize with ourselves, with the dogs. It's just a win-win. It's a great time.
At the end of the day, we have an entire community full of people that are compassionate for animals and that want to come forward and they want to help in some way. And so when we get this group that's coming here for reasons other than being paid, they're truly here for the animals and for the community and really making that come together. And our volunteers are so instrumental in being out there and really being a voice for our animals and truly do make the difference at making us stand out better as far as our customer service goes and really enriching the lives of the animals while we have them here in our shelter, hopefully until they go into their forever home.
Severe weather can destroy a home in seconds. There's no time to think, only time to act. Have a kit so you're ready for any emergency. Develop a plan for what you and your family will do before disaster strikes, and stay informed during severe weather any way you can. It can be the difference between losing your possessions and losing your life. Just ask the owners of this house. Visit ready.gov for ways to prepare your family for emergencies.
Abandoned and lost. From the dark, cold streets of the city to a cage in the local shelter, to heaven, your lap.
My name's Reggie. Just recently, my wife and I took in her sister's children. And we already had 4, so I went from becoming a family man to a man with a bigger family. Now, you can't eat love, so I don't know how I'm gonna feed them tonight. How was that, Rich?
I think I look more like Denzel.
That's cold, man.
Play a role in ending hunger. Visit feedingamerica.org/hunger and find your local food bank.
Going shopping can be fun for you, but deadly for your pets. Never leave a pet unattended in a car, even for a few minutes. A partially opened window does not provide enough cool air to keep your pet safe. On warm days, it can take only a few minutes for the temperature to rise above 100 degrees in your car. If you see a pet in a closed car, call the City of Tallahassee's Animal Control at 891-2950, describing the pet, the car, and the car's exact location so you can get help.
Thanks for staying with us. For this Q&A session, we'll tackle some viewers' concerns. Ashley writes, do indoor pets require veterinary care?
There's actually some infectious diseases that can make their way indoors, one of the primary ones in this area being heartworm disease. Dogs, cats, ferrets, all of those are susceptible to receive infection through mosquito bites, and unfortunately here in Florida we have a lot of mosquitoes and they make their way indoors year-round. So all dogs, cats, and ferrets need to be on a monthly preventative and be tested regularly to make sure that they don't contract this infection. Other contagions include upper respiratory infections that we can bring in on our shoes, on our hands. Distemper virus in dogs and in ferrets can make their way indoors. And one that's a very big human health concern in addition is rabies virus. We tend to see a lot of people who didn't realize that bats could make their way in their house in very small cracks, and we've actually had several people bring in their cats to us having just picked up a bat. Other things that people don't think about often are fleas. We see those come indoors either through the door, on our shoes and socks. And then metabolic and kind of organ diseases. As animals age, they age a lot quicker than we do, so having routine physical exams every 6 to 12 months is recommended so that your veterinarian can detect things like kidney disease, thyroid disease, even things like cancer, other types of old age conditions that can set in. If you detect them early, you have a much better chance of treating them, getting your pet a longer, happier life.
So make sure all your pets see the vet. With the warm weather approaching, this next question is right on time. Ryan asks, is it okay to leave my dog in the car if I'm just running a quick errand?
It's never a good idea to leave your pet unattended in a vehicle. Most of the time our climate in Tallahassee is very warm, very humid, and so it doesn't take very little time at all for the internal temperatures inside the vehicle to elevate to a point where it's unhealthy for the animal, and the animal is at risk of possible heat stroke. Heat stroke is a medical condition that occurs when the animal is no longer able to cool itself. So this happens in a vehicle very quickly because the temperature is rising and the relative humidity is rising, so that's the amount of moisture content in the air. Dogs don't sweat like we do. Right now it's kind of a hot day, I'm sweating, that's how I'm cooling my body. But the dog, it's typically going to pant as its method of cooling. So as the air is moving through the nasal passages, it's picking up excessive body heat and it's being expelled through the mouth. But again, when that humidity rises, if the dog only has hot air to suck in and out, then it's not going to be effective at cooling. And if the internal body temperature rises, it can lead to organ damage. So you're going to have damage to the liver, the heart, the brain, difficulty breathing. Sometimes they're going to be vomiting, seizure, and ultimately death. On a mildly hot day, like 85 degrees outside, in less than 30 minutes, the internal temperature can get to over 120 degrees. A lot of people think parking in the shade or cracking the windows is going to solve the problem, and the reality is it doesn't. You know, you can't get enough crosswind with windows cracked, you know, an inch or two to really make a difference. And parking in the shade, well, as the sun moves, the shade moves, you know, so it's just not worth counting on. You know, when you're leaving the house, if the place you're going, you can't take your pet inside with you, then leave the pet at home. You know, we appreciate owners that are living lives with their pets, you know, that they're including them in their daily activities. We want you to take your pet to the vet. We want you to take your pet out to enjoy one of our dog parks, but plan accordingly. Go straight there. go straight home afterwards. Here's an example of a truck that's in this parking lot. It's a sunny day, there's actually a pretty good breeze, and the window's cracked. What we'll do when we respond to a call is we take a little handheld temperature gauge, and oftentimes the windows are cracked, and what we can do is shoot down inside and get an internal reading. Right now this one's getting 128.6. So you can see it's extremely hot inside, and these are the environments that are going to lead to heat stroke if your pet is left inside a vehicle. It's not uncommon for us to get calls from concerned citizens about pets that have been left in vehicles, usually outside of restaurants or shopping centers. That's a priority call for us, so we're going to respond to the area as soon as we can. When we locate an owner, the first thing out of their mouth is always, well, I was only going in for a minute, but a minute turns into 10 minutes, turns into a half hour. Sometimes it's things that are outside of your control. And so, in that situation, again, we're focusing on the animal, getting the animal the attention it needs, and obviously educating the owner. If an animal's left in a vehicle for such a period of time or in such conditions to cause it to be in distress, that can lead to a civil citation in the amount of $275. If the animal's left in such a way that it causes injury or ultimately death, then you're talking typically about a criminal infraction where the pet owner can actually be arrested and there could be additional fines. In a rare situation where we're unable to locate an owner, if the animal is in exigent danger, then we're going to take actions to remove the animal, begin the cooling process, and get it to a veterinarian. To be clear, it's not against the law to simply leave an animal in a vehicle. It is against the law, though, when it's left for such a period of time to be endangered. We recognize that not every citizen is going to be able to determine what that is and what that looks like. So it's always better to be safe than sorry. If you have a concern, if you see an animal and you're unable to locate an owner, or you have any reason to be concerned, call us. Let us respond, and we'll address the situation.
That's good information. If you come across a pet in a hot car, call Animal Control at 891-2958. Lizzie asks, I'd like to adopt a pet. Does the shelter have good quality animals?
There's a common myth that the animals that come into animal services are society's throwaway animals and that they're the unwanted. And while we do take in animals from a variety of backgrounds, the quality of the animals that we put up for adoption is excellent. The animals that you adopt from the Animal Service Center are spayed, they're neutered, they're vaccinated, they're microchipped, they're all ready for their adoptive home, and they've been through a number of medical and behavior evaluations to assure that they're going to be a wonderful pet in someone's home. While most of our cats are actually mixed breed, about 25% of the incoming dogs are purebred animals. So you might not think that if you're looking for a poodle or a Maltese or even a Labrador that we would have purebreds at the animal shelter, and we have a number of them come in every day. We want to make sure that the community knows that we're a great resource for adoptable animals and that the animals that we're adopting out are healthy, both behaviorally and medically, and would make loving, wonderful pets.
So make the Animal Service Center your first stop when looking for a new pet. If you have a pet-related question, visit WCOT on talgov.com. Thanks for watching, and remember, stopping overpopulation starts by spaying or neutering your pet. For WCOT, I'm Missy Tuttle.
With the City of Tallahassee's mobile app, Digitally, reporting issues to the city is simple. See graffiti? Just snap a photo. And send. See, snap, send. Visit the App Store or Google Play to download Digitally today.
So you can't save money? That's easy as pie. Brown bagging lunch instead of going out. $6 save times 5 days a week times 10 years is $21,000. That's a lot of lettuce. Small changes today, big bucks tomorrow. Feedthepig.org.